To go to our big spotlight then for this evening. Paytm banks are not looking lucrative all of a sudden. After Telenor and Cholamandalam, Tech Mahindra now has decided to scrap its plan after winning a license from the RBI in August last year. With this, 3 out of the 11 license winners have pulled the plug on the Paytm bank. Tech Mahindra CEO told CNBC TV 18 earlier today that he does not see any short-term profitability from a payment bank. Listen in.
The reason why we have pulled out is the market has changed in the last 6 months since we got the license. We worked with a lot of people, consultants, to come to this conclusion that in a short term, and a short term I'm here talking about 3 to 5 years, it's very, very difficult to make money. And the reason it is difficult to make money is not because of the government or RBI, it is just that market forces have taken over.
Well, that's the big story, and joining us now to discuss all that and more, we have Vijay Shekhar Sharma, founder and CEO of Paytm, and also one of the front runners in a bid to set up a Paytm bank in India. Thanks very much, Mr. Sharma, for joining us here on The Big Picture. Tell us, what is this big hullabaloo? There was a lot of optimism. This was that big opportunity to increase financial inclusion and bring in the unbanked people. Why are suddenly companies developing cold feet?
I think it is the most important opportunity for India to build financial inclusion, and it is even today, and it will remain as one of the key things that India gives to the world, a banking model where the deposits are not risked in credit, and the payment bank are built on a fundamental premise that consumers' deposits can't be used to lend the money.
Exactly.
And that's exactly the reason that people are having a little bit of cold feet, because they probably have a business model approach which has been traditional, but payment bank offers an incredible new opportunity of building a business model based on transaction, based on lower cost of distribution, and it has, I fundamentally believe it is one of the biggest opportunity for India to build inclusion at a mass level and a scalable manner.
So you're saying the issue here is that these players are approaching this through a traditional business model. What you really need is something radically different, because this is a radically different concept.
I truly believe that this is a radically different concept. It requires business model that has to be updated. It can't be built on the same business model that traditional banks have been built.
Right.
And that very fact that traditional banks they start from high value customers and they go to the smaller value customers, and payment bank starts from the person whom nobody would have got banked and then grows towards a new customer base. At Paytm, we are today doing 126 million users who are Paytm users. Last year, we had 75 million people who were transacting. And this year, when we start payment bank, we're targeting 200 million bank accounts to be opened by Paytm Bank in the first year itself.
Right.
We're having too audacious a moonshot here. And I truly believe that once we are live, and which is what we are working very aggressively on, I don't think it will be looked at as right now as it is looked at.
200 million you will do by August 2017 then, because you've said August this year is when you will launch your bank.
This is what we are keeping as our moonshot.
Okay, my God, and so that's going to be almost as much as what the government's Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana has done. I think they've opened 220 million accounts in the first year.
I think Jan Dhan accounts, Aadhaar and mobile technology, Jam Trinity as our Prime Minister calls, is incredible opportunity for India, and the PMJDY program opened the door and showed the door that you can take this to a level 2.
Right.
And I think at a payment bank level, by bringing private institutions like everybody who's been assigned, there is an opportunity, and they are there as a viable business model. I'm totally not even confused, or we are actually feeling that this is an opportunity not just for us as an Indians, but also as a world at large, because banking, and traditionally this is a time when banking needs to rediscover itself, thanks to the smartphone penetration.
Why are companies then saying, in fact, CP Gurnani said that we realize the amount of aggression that has come to the marketplace that only erodes the margin. They're talking about razor thin margins. Why is that being said? And what is Paytm doing differently, for instance?
Well, I think we've raised the bar of payments business by saying that in offline mom and pop store, the payment transaction will be done at 0% margin. That's the way that we are making this country accept Paytm in every nook and corner. You go to a shop in your neighborhood, you go to a shop for purchasing milk, and those places you are able to accept payment transaction at 0% margin. The point is that payment is a 0% TDR business in our business model at a fundamental level.
Okay.
We are not saying that this is an aggressive move. We are saying that this is the foundation move because this brings a large set of merchants also to accept this.
So there is a gestation period.
Yes, and then what you build at financial services on top of it is the revenue line item.
So how long before you break even then?
I think because of the number of services that we are accounting for in our business model, we don't think that it will be not more than 2 or 3 years that we should be able to break even actually, even at these aggressive numbers.
Considering the fact that the initial license is for a period of 18 months, and that is when these guys had to come out with the banks, and which you are doing now, which you will do in August. You think that period somewhere perhaps was a bit inadequate? I mean, how do you look at the 18-month window that was given?
I think 18-month window is apt and optimum enough. And yes, I understand that it requires a lot of pressure on system integration, a lot of the companies, because we are putting up full core banking software day one, and we are not building a bank without core banking software, mobile technology. So there is an aggressive process in there because you have to build a team also, then you have to build a technology system also, and you have to build a distribution also. But I think while launch is that timeline, the obligation to launch is in next due course of years. You can just switch on one branch and you're on.
All right. So therefore, you're saying that you're not developing cold feet at all, despite the fact that 3 players
We are getting super aggressive.
You're getting super aggressive.
This is good time, and we want to make sure that we make most of it.
But tell me one thing, because now there are also rumors that other players may also follow suit. Do you think this is advantage telcos because they have the reach, they have the customer base? So in that sense, do you think the others actually naturally start at a disadvantage?
I think there is an inherent distribution network that telecom operators have built. If you look at India's, one of the service that has got distributed at every nook and corner in New World, that is telecom business. And so connectivity has been that. And I think RBI did an incredible move by bringing telecom operators into the payment bank fold, where they have an opportunity to leverage the same distribution and same customer acquisition and same KYC ecosystem that they built to leverage on the payment bank. So I truly believe that there is a telco advantage business model which starts with. At the same point of time, there is a business model for companies who have built a large consumer business. I think we consider ourselves lucky that in our early days of traction and the amount of investment that we did, we've been able to have an incredible amount of traction in Paytm. So we also see ourselves at that equal footing in that sense.
Okay.
But there is no doubt about it, the telcos have a distribution advantage there.
Right.
Companies which do not have either consumer base or distribution are there to build one of the two at least.
All right. You have hired more than 50 people in top leadership positions. Tell us in terms of the sheer hiring that Paytm will be doing ahead of the August launch.
So I think when you talking about 200 million accounts,
exactly,
in 1 year, then you're talking about building a massive amount of team on force. What we're doing is that we already had a large amount of team in our payments business, and we already had large amount of team in our marketplace business. We're focused on making payment bank extraordinarily successful by bringing every teammates of ours bringing into that team. And we think that by the time when we're launching in August, any number of people, at least 1,000 to 1,500, is the kind of people who will be working on directly or indirectly on the payment bank module. Because the business model of ours requires us to create an incredible distribution of O2O payment, the offline payment using online. So part of payments are when you open the Paytm app and you are transacting, and a part of payment is when you are in the shop and using Paytm app. What we are building this year as payment business is a legacy of how offline payments are built. In this country, the payment networks, if you see traditional payment networks, had not built a network of places where you can pay using plastic.
Right.
And I'm sure you and I know this, we have to carry our wallet with cash because we know that number of places we'll be able to pay using cards or plastic will not be that many.
Right.
We want to change that. And that is a fundamental part of the payment bank itself. Because if we can solve the payment, we're solving the business plan of payment bank in itself. That's the magic.
So you're silently part of this revolution that is taking place in India. You've also said that after banks, also you'll be looking at offering wealth management services. I think that is really interesting because, I mean, how will that work out, Vijay?
I think, Ron, I personally believe here that if we did a good job of getting 200 million people on our bank in the first year and 500 million by next 3 years, we inevitably will have to offer the rest of the financial services offerings, including wealth management, including micro loans, and including insurance products. And for this, we are partnering with many financial institutions. And so let's say if a normal small person who does not have, when I say small person, it is a person who does not have a lot of savings, has 10,000 rupees as a deposit.
Right.
Today in the country, we are offering 4% rate of interest in the deposit account, and that I think is not even adjusting to inflation, even the money that is kept there. We want to build out wealth management in due course so that this money can earn at least the inflation adjusted revenue returns.
Right.
And that will be another next opportunity after payment bank builds out.
So when do we see that? I mean, in your broader horizon?
When we launch payment bank, hopefully within a quarter or two, we should be able to launch our wealth management product too.
All right. Vijay, let's just talk a little bit more about this model, because the fact that the RBI has clearly put a lot of restrictions, as you said, they cannot, they cannot lend. But many are also now wondering that at a time when even public sector banks are becoming more aggressive in terms of its outreach, do you think that is also now something that many of the players are beginning to realize, that that competition from the traditional banks is, is getting pretty intense?
I think traditional bank has an incredible role to play in financial services ecosystem, where they bring one side richness of their expertise and experience, and other side the distribution in rural places. But I'm sure you know this, that this country actually lives in the far more in rural and long-tail cities or villages where banking has not reached. And the reason is the cost of structure, distribution, and the branching network. I believe the traditional bank have a cost structure which stops at a particular number. After that, it starts to become unviable. And unless there is sort of a support, push, nudge, it is not moving forward. While the payment bank structure starts from this side, where there is a low cost and the person who would never be able to get banked, and we are targeting those customers in those geography first. For example, Northeast is our target area, Central India is our target area. We want to bring at places where there is no banking first, and then grow towards the customer base who is living but not available banking and financial services and is comfortable banking with us. So our approach is from the bottom of the pyramid to the top of the pyramid. Traditionally, banks have gone from the top of the pyramid to the bottom of the pyramid, but they have stopped somewhere because of the viability model. If we come from lower cost side, we probably will have sorted viability and scale much earlier.
That's incredible what you're telling me, Vijay. Have you seen something interesting about the low income customers? What is the most interesting thing that you've seen?
One of the biggest myths that this India understands or thinks is that people like to carry cash and want to prefer cash over digital money.
Okay.
But I think the person who earns least amount of cash money is the guy who wants to keep it the most safe. And physical currency is never safe. It can be lost, it can be they can be theft, they can be tearing, wear and tear, every element associated with it. And there is no track of it. If it gets disappeared, where is it? This is the surprise that we found, that our long tail of customers are one of the highest active user base, which is why we are so excited about payment bank itself, that we believe that this country and countrymen are ready for digital financial services ecosystem, unlike we have assumed that they are not.
Therefore, RBI should not get disheartened by just 3 players pulling out. At least that's the sense that RBI is giving us. Should not get disheartened. That's your final word.
This is an opportunity for RBI and some of the countrymen to pull together a business model of banking, which will be shown and seen by the world as an incredible model.
RBI, if you're listening to that, that's the word coming in from Vijay Shekhar Sharma, still being very, very optimistic. And I think what he said was very, very interesting, that the need to actually introduce a completely new business model, because at the end of the day, hey, this is a radical idea. Thank you so much, Vijay, for joining us here on The Big Picture. We need to slip in